Hello, basketball coaches and basketball players. My name is Alan from Al's Basketball Training, and today I'm going to talk to you about some of the best half-court press defenses that you can run at the middle school basketball level. So this first defense is the 1-2-1-1, and basically some coaches will call this a diamond. Usually you would use this on the full court. The reason why we would use this one at the half court is because maybe our team isn't as fast, or we might have two slower players with three quicker players, or maybe even four slower players with a quicker player. This will work with those types of teams. And basically what we're going to have is player one. He is going to be the one forcing the players to go left or right. The idea in any press defense is to trap players in the corners. So if a player gets in these corners, you're going to trap them with two players. And how that's going to work is, let's say player one pops up. Now, I know this is a half-court defense, but as you can see, we have player one popping up a little bit farther than half-court. I want him personally to go 2 to 3 feet past the half-court line so that we can press or pressure the defense into those corners. Now, with him pressuring him, let's say he starts going in this direction. What that's going to allow him to do now is player 3 is going to pop up, but we do not want him or player 2 to go past half court. And at this time, we want player 4 to stay where he is, but we do want player 5 to take a little bit of a step towards this side, because most teams with a press break or even without a press break, they're going to be having two players deep or in the post, one or the other, but there's usually two players from the free throw line and below. And how this is going to work now is player 2 is going to be taking a step up, getting ready to trap him along this corner with player 1. Now, if this is not a very experienced team, player 1 could pass to player 2, and that's an easy trap. And if that trap happens, we want player 3 to be right at that center court line. Player 4 will be roughly there, and player 5 will be on player 4. If player 1 was to cut down in front, that would be player 3 covering. And, of course, we can't go back over half court because, of course, that would be over and back. Now, if the team was somewhat experienced, what we're going to be having now is player 1 passing over to player 3. Now what's going to be happening is player 3 is not going to be jumping up to go pressure player 3. We want player 3 to bait player 3 red into dribbling towards that sideline over on that side. And how player 3 is going to do that is by now having himself move towards that left side so that now he can direct player 3 to go towards the sideline and not towards center court. If player 3 just pops up on him right flush on, what's going to be happening is player 3 is trained, if he's smart enough, to go down the center of the court, and we do not want that. So player 3 is going to take that away, and that's going to move player 3 over towards that sideline. As soon as he gets past half, meanwhile, player 1 is moving over to go and trap. And we're going to be having player 2 moving over, player 4 moving over, and this is going to be another trap on that side. Again, we don't want anybody driving or dribbling up the middle. Nothing there. We want everything to go towards the sidelines. Now, my next defense that I like to run, and I classify this as one of the best half-court press defenses, is the 2-3. Now, with the 2-3, of course, we have an open lane down the middle. That's going to be a nice bait for player 1 to try and dribble between them. However, they are going to cut off player 1 from going down the middle. When that happens, he could pass out to player 3 or player 2. If that happens, then what's going to happen is player 2 is going to try and attack this open space, and player 1 is going to go and cut that off. Player 5 is going to move up, player 4 is going to move over, player 3 is going to move over, and player 2 is going to move over towards this side. Now, how we're going to be moving this now is once player 2 moves up, we're going to have player 1 and 5 directing player 2 towards that sideline. We've actually seen the Raptors use this 2-3 zone half-court press against Golden State, and if you remember, we had Thompson once, and we also had Steph Curry a few times get trapped along that sideline. And one time, I can't remember if it was Steph Curry or if it was their backup point guard, but he tried to make a pass over to player 1, somewhere in this side over here. I think he was standing right about there. And player 2, he was actually just a bit too high, I think it was, because he was trying to protect that cross-court pass, but player 2 was already past half. And then he seen player 1 open. He jumped down, and player 2 tried to pass across, and player 3, which was Norman Powell at the time, cut that off and went down for a massive slam. Actually, no, that wasn't Norman Powell. That was Pascal Siakam who went down for a massive slam. Moving back to the 2-3 zone back here. Once player 1 does cut off the middle, and let's say players 3 and 2 went messed up, they went past, and player 2 is now double teamed. He has to decide which way should he go, and if he goes over towards this side, that's going to move player 3 over to the middle, which now will be covered by player 5. Player 4 is going to be moving down to cover the key, and we're going to be having player 2 move and direct player 1 over towards that corner. At this time, we're going to have player 5 move down. Player 1 is going to be moving up, and player 4 is now covering middle. Player 1 is covering this side, player 5 is covering that side, and player 3 is going to be going up and trapping with player 2. Now, this next press that I run is actually part of a book that I wrote. It is called the 1-4 Unbeatable Basketball Defense. Now, this is a press that you can use that moves into that defense really well. Now, that defense does cover everything from the free throw line and below as a double team, and it's single coverage up top. And this is a double team that doesn't allow a player to get open. So it's a very useful defense. Now, how does that defense translate into a a half court press? Now, this is how. Player 1 is going to be moving up, and player 1 blue is going to be covering him. He's going to be trying to direct him in one side or the other. And what's going to happen now is he's just going to pass out of it because there's nobody up in these corners to trap along those sides. However, what's going to happen now, as soon as he starts dribbling up, player 2 is going to be moving up, player 1 is going to be moving over, and we're going to be having player 5 move up to cover the center of the key, and player 3 is going to be moving down. Now, at this time, we're going to be having a trap in that corner, and there really isn't that much open for player 2 to pass to. Now, if they did somehow beat the trap, let's say they beat it, what's going to happen now is very simple. Player 2 moves down. Player 4 is already in his spot. Player 5 is going to move down. Player 3 is basically already in his spot. And now, everything from the free throw line and below is the double team, and everything up here is a single coverage. And you can go check out that book in the link in the description. Now, our final press defense, what I'm going to show you is, and this next one is going to be a 3-2, very simple. And what we're going to be doing is nobody is passing half court. Well, you want player 1 to be matching the player who's going up the middle. And once he gets there, player 1 is going to be directing him one side or the other. This player has to be your fastest player on your team. Next, what's going to happen if he passes out of it and he dribbles up, it's just going to be a trap on that side. It's very simple. However, what we're going to be moving to now is if player 1 wants to go and dribble towards the one side or the other, player 2 is going to then cut towards the center like he has always been trained to. Player 3 is going to move over, player 4 is going to move up, and player 1 will then just dribble right into the trap. Now, if he tries to pass to player 2, player 4 should be fast enough to get around him, and if not, player 5 can then go close out, and player 4 can pop down to play defense in the post because we do not want any easy baskets down there. Now, I hope that these press defenses help your team. If they do, let us know in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys again later on today for another daily, twice a day basketball video.